Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Don Lemon Show. I'm so glad that you are here on this Wednesday. Man, it feels like it's a lot later in the week. So here's the first order of business. I need you to hit the like, hit the thumbs up, because it does affect the algorithm. More people become aware of our channel, and it is important and aware of our conversation. I am doing something that I have done for the past decade, which is to support the prostate cancer awareness. Having friends and family members who have suffered, and some have passed away because of prostate cancer. I've been doing this for 10 years. And when my when my sister passed, I flew back in to do this. This is how important this is to me. I flew back into town to do this from Louisiana, and then flew back to Louisiana because this is a cause that's really near and dear to my heart, no matter what's going on in my world. I think that this deserves supporting because so many people die. They don't know it can be a quiet killer. And so we want to stamp that out. So thank you for joining me today, especially. I'm not in my studio, as you can tell, and I'm working from a remote room right where we're having this event, which is a charity event for prostate awareness, prostate cancer awareness. So again, thank you so much. Like and thumbs up. I want to hear you guys in the comments. We have been fortunate this week to have a lot of people come out and stand up for me. And really, more than standing up for me, standing up for the First Amendment and really the freedom of the press. And you know that you're doing the right thing when you hear the opponents of that so loudly and so strongly out giving misinformation, disinformation, and out on, just a PR tear, using the same words. So, they all got together and said, we're going to say this word and we're going to do this, and you're going to go to this network and you're going to go on this show, and all of it. Right. So anyway, pay no attention to the noise and keep focused, keep calm, and carry on. That's what we're going to do here on the Don Lemon Show on the Don Lemon channel. So again, thank you for joining. We, one of those people who's been very supportive and who is, and she does not mess around. She is by the book, and that is Senator Elizabeth Warren. Senator Elizabeth Warren is here to discuss freedom of the press, freedom of religion, and whether freedom of the press, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, and whether or not the ICE folks, not just the people who are out in the, gathering people up without due process rights, but the people who are in charge of them in the Justice Department and beyond, if they will ever face consequences or the long or short arm of the law. And wait till you hear what she has to say. Senator Elizabeth Warren joins us. She has served the great Commonwealth of Massachusetts since 2013, and she served them well, the citizens of Massachusetts well. Thank you for joining us, Senator.
Thank you. It's good to be here with you.
It's, I appreciate the support that you have given me, and also your support of that, which means the First Amendment and of independent journalism. This is what you tweeted out, a statement that you put out about me. You said, journalism is not a crime. The Justice Department should investigate the federal agents who killed U.S. citizens in broad daylight, not arrest reporters like Don Lemon. He should be released. It's a spine-chilling assault on press freedom and threatens the public's right to know. Why did you write that?
I wrote it because I believe it. And when I saw that you had been arrested for reporting on what's happening in Minnesota, while the same Trump administration was trying to say nothing to see here about the agents who actually shot and killed people, that just tells you what an upside down world we're in. And that part of the key to what the Trump administration is trying to pull off is to silence independent journalists. It's to silence the people who go out, who investigate, who put themselves sometimes in harm's way, and who do their best to report what's actually happening. I'm really worried about what that means.
Do you think that they've ever read the Constitution or the Bill of Rights? Because it sounds like they have not, from the actions that they're taking. And by the way, you understand, and I think that everyone else does, the difference between a protester and a journalist.
Yeah, I'm pretty clear on that difference, and the difference between a protester, a journalist, and a shooter. Right? They're in very different places. But I think you're being too generous when you say they haven't read it. That implies ignorance. Oh, I
Mhm.
think they've read it. I think this is deliberate. And the reason I say that is this isn't just you. They're going after journalism everywhere. Just today, we have Jeff Bezos, who owns the Washington Post. And
Yes.
so, the movie has just come out. He spent $75 million on a movie about Melania. What's that all about? And then
Mhm.
today, he fires hundreds of reporters at the Washington Post, including reporters who report investigative reporting on Amazon, the big company that he makes so much money off. So I see this as a moment when it sure looks like someone like Jeff Bezos is doing his best to suck up to the Trump administration because it advances his business interests in return for advancing Donald Trump's political interests and Donald Trump's ego and financial interests. That
The,
that really worries me.
the New York Times is reporting, and you see it up there on the screen. Washington Post begins sweeping layoffs. The layoffs are slated to shrink the newsroom by hundreds of journalists, cutting into the Post's local, international, and
Yeah,
sports coverage just when we need an independent media
right.
and media holding this administration's feet to the fire. Not only this administration, I think you'll agree, anyone who is in power should be held accountable.
That's the
Correct?
whole point of the press. The Washington Post coined the phrase democracy dies in
Guys in
darkness.
darkness.
And then Jeff Bezos turns around and just turns off the lights.
Mhm.
That's what's happening right now. When he lays off half his newsroom, that just means there are a whole lot of stories out there that won't get reported on. And then you just layer that in. Stephen Colbert criticizes Donald Trump and the indications that Trump had taken a bribe in the settlement of a lawsuit. And what happens? Paramount announces 3 days later that they're firing him. Right? You're just watching one after another of these attacks on the media. And for me, this is the moment when we need a strong, independent media. We are relying on our courts and we're relying on our independent media to stand up, speak out, tell the truth, and keep us all in this fight.
Yeah, you have been speaking about this. This is one of the things that you are really adamant and really passionate about. This is what you tweeted out today. I think it was today. You said Jeff Bezos just fired hundreds of reporters at the Washington Post, including the Amazon reporter, holding his own company accountable. Reminder: Jeff Bezos' net worth is $250 billion. He could pay a lot of those people for quite some time if
Yeah.
he just with a couple of days pay, not even.
Yeah. And I don't think anybody's fooled here. I don't think anybody really thinks that laying off hundreds of newsroom employees is about Jeff Bezos just working hard to make it to the end of the month and trying to save a little money here and there. No, I think this really does. That's why I said I think it ties to everything else that Bezos has been doing. He doesn't want criticism of himself. And he gets rid of enough news guys, there won't be much criticism of Donald Trump or of anybody else in the Trump administration, not nearly so much coverage around what's happening with ICE, what's happening around our country, and what's happening around the world. You just cut off access to that. And
Mhm.
that really means that a core part of the foundation of our democracy starts to go away. The idea of a free press is not just something that's, oh, isn't that cute or something we all want. It's the idea that it is an informed people, an informed citizenry that ultimately holds our elected leaders accountable. When our founders put together this country, we just gotten rid of one king and said, we don't want to have any more. And so where do you try to locate power? We can't all get out there and run the agencies at the same time and run the police force at the same time. We said we're going to have elected representatives, but we got to keep power with the people. And obviously that means free and fair elections, but you got to keep power with the people every single day. And that's where a free press comes in. That's where the folks like you who stand up and say, I went out there, I investigated, I developed the sources, I gathered all of the evidence, and now I'm bringing it back to the American people so that you can be fully informed, so that together we can hold these elected officials accountable every single day. And that is what Jeff Bezos and Donald Trump and Paramount Pictures and all these other folks are saying, not so much. Let's get rid of that. And I think that's what the arrest that you faced was all about. You're just a piece in that story.
Well, I want to talk to you a little bit more about that, because you mentioned it. That was my next question. When you think about this consolidation of media, but mainly a consolidation of conservative media and media who is willingly bending the knee to this administration. And the journalists, not that the journalists are so bad, but they are, I believe, in a bad place because the gatekeepers are trying to push them in a certain direction politically. And that's not what journalism is about. I believe, I don't know if you do, I believe that for the most part, corporate media has been neutered. Still great journalists there, and they still can do some great things, but it's tough for them. And I think that's why independent media, independent journalists especially, are so important right now. Perhaps that's why they're coming after us.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think they've largely been neutered. And the thing is, they've all got to be looking over their shoulders right now. When this whole question about what kind of consolidation is going to go on, is Paramount going to buy out Netflix, and who's going to get the multi-billion, zillion, trillion-dollar deal? One of the questions Donald Trump asks is, who's going to own CNN? And the message is loud and clear that the one who promises not just own CNN, but to make sure that CNN is no real threat to Donald Trump, is looking like the front runner in a race where Donald Trump says he's going to decide who's the winner. He's going to make the decision about which corporate merger is permitted. And that's got to send a chill through everybody that works for these big media companies in terms of what kind of future do they have if part of their job is to see what they see and tell what they tell, even if the president of the United States doesn't like it.
Right on. I think everyone knows that the ICE agents that are out there are violating people's due process rights. I think they know that. And we know that it's bad. We know that it's not constitutional. The real question is, at least for me, is will these folks ever be held accountable, including the agents and the people who are running the Department of Homeland Security and others?
Yeah. So I feel the urgency of this moment, and that Congress has an opportunity to step up here. As you know, we have this funding bill that's going forward. We've been able to cleave off Homeland Security. But now, right now, are the negotiations that are going on that will really be about, first of all, trying to put some constraints on ICE that stop the violence. That's got to be the number one thing we do. And as part of that, that there's real accountability for those who break the law. There's real accountability for those who do harm. So, I've gotten my pieces that I want to see in this legislation as it goes forward. We've got 2 weeks to see if we can cut a deal here. But this is a moment for everyone out there. Don't tune out. Now is when we need to keep the pressure up. Now is when we need to hear from our independent journalists. Now is when we need to take what we hear and bring it back to the people in Congress, bring it back to the President of the United States, and say the people of America demand that these ICE enforcement officers follow the same laws, follow the same rules as every other law enforcement officer follows, and that there's real accountability for those who do harm. We got to bring this violence under control, and that means getting ICE under control.
Senator Elizabeth Warren, thank you for your support, and thank you for the great work that you do. Please come back and see us on this program.
Oh, I will, and thank you for the work you're doing. Keep it up.
Thanks. When I started the Don Lemon Show, I thought the hard part would be the conversations. Turns out the hard part was everything else: logos, merch, websites, tech, decisions on top of decisions. So if you've ever tried to build something from scratch, You know that feeling, your dream on one side and never ending to-do list on the other. That's where Shopify comes in, and that's where it came in to help us. So Shopify is a platform behind millions of businesses worldwide and about 10% of all e-commerce in the US, from global brands to people just getting started. And yes, we use Shopify to bring you the merch that you love on this show, that you demanded and I fought against, and you were right. I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong. So it's got beautiful templates, built-in AI tools, and easy marketing tools. Shopify helps you find customers, tell your story, and actually grow. And when that first sale hits, start your business today with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/lemon. That's shopify.com/lemon. I say this a lot, but it matters. Freedom only works when it belongs to everyone. The First Amendment wasn't written to protect one religion. It was written to protect all of us. But right now, that promise is under pressure from people who believe their faith should control everyone else's lives. The Freedom from Religion Foundation is fighting back. They defend students, families, and communities from religious coercion. And they stand up for the simple idea that government should stay neutral on religion. So if you believe freedom means freedom for everyone, not just some people, make sure you join them. That's the Freedom from Religion Foundation, okay? So go to ffrf.us/new year, or you can text my first name, Don, D-O-N, to 511-511. That's F as in Frank, F as in Frank, R as in religion, F as in Frank, .us/new year, or text Don to 511-511. Text fees may apply. All right. Thank you so much to our sponsors. And again, thank you for joining us here for the Don Lemon Show on this Wednesday, this very cold Wednesday in the city. And so I'm glad that you're here. By the way, Andy, put up the like and thumbs up. Make sure you hit the like and thumbs up because it is important to the viability of this channel. It does affect the algorithm. More people become aware of our channel and our conversation. When you do that, it sends it out and the algorithm pings more people to let them know that we're on the air and we're discussing things. And it's good for engagement. And also, subscriptions are free, and you can become a member by going to our main page on YouTube. You can get there through donlemon.com and then hit the join button, and you can become a member and a subscriber. Again, the subscriptions are free. The memberships are very reasonable. And also, if you are already a member, you are free to be very generous and to donate or gift memberships to other Lemonheads, to other people who are watching our program. So let's talk about what's happening, because there have been hearings in Washington talking about the atrocities and the injustices happening on the streets of America, especially in Minnesota, but not just in Minnesota, in other places. And I'm talking about the ICE goons that are out there picking people up, detaining them, abusing them without due process, taking them into custody. Well, Representative Robert Garcia spoke today about the ICE injustices and how they are really brutalizing people.
How did we get here? Why does it seem like violence is the first resort?
I mean, it's just so disgraceful, and we should all feel deep shame. The fact that our own government, the federal government, is doing this to people. We shot her multiple times, an agent on the street. She's a United States citizen. She is now permanently disfigured. She talked about that pain that she now goes through every day. Why is this happening to people on the ground? She did nothing wrong. She has no criminal history. She's never committed a crime in this country and has been convicted of anything. And the fact that we are treating people this way is horrific, and there's no accountability. Ms. Martinez should not have to worry about getting shot as she's driving down her city and her community. And so what we're right now at this moment focused on is justice for people like Ms. Martinez and accountability for the people that are being hurt across this country. People are losing their eyesight. People are being hurt. People are now unable in some cases to walk effectively and live their lives the way they've known because of what we're doing to people on the street. So this has to end, and we should not be funding additional support for these agencies that have now gone rogue because of Donald Trump and Kristi Noem.
Well, let's see where that goes, because there were a lot of folks who are not happy because there were some Democrats as well who signed off on the funding for ICE, and now here you go. I think people are finding out now that you cannot believe anything this administration says about, we're going to go after the worst of the worst. We know that is not happening. They're not just going after the worst of the worst. They're going after American citizens. They're going after people for their accents. They're going after people for the color of their skin. And anyone, you know what I don't understand? I don't understand the people of color, especially the brown people who are out there picking up their own people in this way. I know that folks have a job to do, and there are ways to do it. Now, if they were doing it, if they were going, if they had for every single one of these things, if it was a targeted operation, or they had warrants, or they were doing it with due process, and they were treating people at least humanely, okay, perhaps I can understand it. But I don't understand it when you are one of the people who happens to be in an oppressed group in this country, who happens to be part of the minority culture instead of the majority culture in this country. I don't understand it. I don't think there is no dollar amount that's worth that. And especially when I look at the brown people, meaning Latino Americans, the Indian Americans who are going along with this in this administration, it's really shocking. And it is this whole sort of pick me attitude and tap dancing to power and to whiteness. I really just don't get it. It is, to me, it is just unfathomable that someone could betray their own race and their own people that way. I just wonder what is happening inside of their heads, or that old adage, who hurt you? And for the people who come across the border, who I've met so many of, and then they want to shut the door behind them, and they without being honest about how they got here, and perhaps not even perhaps about how the people before them got to this country. And a lot of the people who are out there saying, yeah, well, I got here and I did it the right way. It's like, well, what about your mom or your dad or your grandmother or your granddad or your uncle? How did they get here? And if you dig deeper into it, if you keep digging into it, you find out that most times it was not the so-called right way. Now, I'm not saying that folks should break the law. What I'm saying is that people should have empathy. And it appears there is no empathy, especially coming from the folks at the top in this administration. And that includes especially the Vice President of the United States. When asked if Alex Preddy's family is owed an apology for people in the administration demonizing him and calling him a domestic terrorist before they even got the facts of what happened, this is what he had to say.
Did you plan to apologize to the family of Alex Preddy?
For what?
For, labeling him an assassin with ill intent.
Well, again, I just described to you what I said about Alex Preddy, which is that he's a guy who showed up with ill intent to an ICE protest.
No, but if it's determined that his civil rights were violated by this FBI investigation, will you apologize to that
So
family?
if this hypothetical leads to that hypothetical leads to another hypothetical,
it's a real case
will
that's
I
open.
do a thing? And again, like I said, we're going to let the investigation.
Okay. That was a full soundbite, right? Because it seems like he went on and wanted to dig into it a little more. But that was the full soundbite, right, Andy?
Yeah, that's all I have.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Where's their heart, and where was that same attitude with Charlie Kirk when they were so upset when people said that they did not, respectfully, I don't agree with anything that Charlie Kirk had to say. I don't, his politics were different than mine, but the man should not have died that way. So you expect empathy and a certain degree of decorum from people who don't have your certain political bend or your evil nature. You expect that, but it doesn't have to come from you. It is the same as President Donald Trump saying the same thing after the attempted assassination. We need to ratchet down. We need to take down the political rhetoric in this country. And then you have him out demonizing and otherizing a member of Congress, a sitting member of Congress, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. And then not long after he does that, someone attacks her in public at a meeting. saying some of the same things, some of the same sentiments as what the president of the United States said. Unbelievable. Now that's hypocrisy. I mean, I was speaking to Mike Nellis today, who is a Democratic strategist, and he said that he had more ire and he was revolted by J.D. Vance more so than even Donald Trump, because he said J.D. Vance is an empty suit and he stands for nothing. At least Donald Trump knows that he's a liar and that he's a used car salesman or a used car salesman and failed real estate agent. At least he knows that. But J.D. Vance stands for nothing. And look, those weren't my thoughts, but I can't say that I disagree with him, especially in this moment after hearing that. Mayor Jacob Fry was questioned about that at a press briefing today. Here it is.
I want to play for you something that the vice president said in an interview today with the Daily Mail. He was asked whether or not he planned to apologize to the family of Alex Preddy, who was, of course, shot on the street by federal agents. I want to show you what the vice president said and then get your reaction. Let's watch.
Have you apologized? Did you plan to apologize to the family of Alex Preddy?
For what?
For, labeling him an assassin with ill intent.
Well, again, I just described to you what I said about Alex Preddy, which is that he's a guy who showed up with ill intent to an ICE protest.
No, but if it is determined,
if
it's determined that his civil rights were violated by this FBI investigation, will you apologize to that?
So, if this hypothetical leads to that hypothetical leads to another hypothetical,
it's a real case.
Will I do a thing? And again, like I said, we're going to let the investigation determine. We're going to let the actual law come to the surface and figure out what happened.
Mr. Mayor, does Alex Preddy?
Can we just pause right there? Pause right there, please. This is a vile human being. Let me tell you why. Because it's not that hard, even if you disagree with what Alex Preddy did. And I don't know how many people who do. They pretend to, but they understand what was going on. All he would have to say is, and it doesn't matter, it's not about the investigation, it's about being a human being. It's about having empathy, and it's about having, it's actually about being, if you are a real Christian, like I am. What you would say is that I am sorry, no one should die that way. I am sorry for his family that he is no longer here. And that's what I will say in this moment. I will let the investigation play out, but I don't want anyone to have to die in the middle of a cold street, regardless of the circumstances. Now, we'll see what the circumstances are once the investigation plays out. But of course, I'm a human being. My heart goes out to his family. Boom. Easy. Easy. Why can't you do that, J.D. Vance? Do you think that you have to kiss Donald Trump's ring and his butt that much that you have to forego your humanity in order to suck up to the president, in order to suck up to the base of the MAGA party? Do you have to debase yourself that much? It's inhumane. It's really just vile and disgusting. And he talks about Christianity so much. Christians don't behave that way. Not real Christians. Unbelievable. That's what he said. More in a moment. Here's a word from our sponsors. Oh, wait. Before we go let me finish. Let me let Jacob Fry finish. I'm sorry. Here we go.
Apology from the vice president of the United States?
I apologize to the family of Alex Preddy because he did not deserve to be killed. So obviously, we all dictate our own conduct. We determine what we decide to do, and he should not have been killed. And so I am sorry to the family of Alex Preddy because that should not have happened at the hands of a government.
It makes me so angry. I'm getting ahead of myself. That's how you do it. That's how a real leader does it. And you don't have to be a leader to do that. You just have to be human. You just have to believe in something that is bigger than yourself and a political party. These people don't. I don't know how they sleep at night. I really don't. Just as I don't know how anybody who is has any immigrant in this country can support this administration, what they're doing now. Now, I can understand people wanting to, comprehensive immigration reform and they believe that people are breaking the law when they enter. I get all of that. I just don't get co-signing on the horrific treatment that's happening to many people out on the streets. And again, not just undocumented people, it's American citizens as well. Now a word from our sponsors. Let's talk honestly for a second. Everyone's talking about weight loss right now, those injections, because the results are dramatic, but not everyone wants weekly shots or the side effects that can come with them. That's why doctors created a supplement called Lean. Lean uses studied ingredients that help lower blood sugar, burn fat by converting it into energy, and curb appetite and cravings, so you're not constantly fighting hunger. And this is important. Lean isn't for someone just trying to lose a couple of pounds. It's created for people who've tried everything and still have 10 or more pounds to lose. And that's you. If that's you, then this could be a real step forward for you. Right now, you can get 20% off plus free rush shipping. Go to takelean.com and use the promo code LEMON. That's TAKELEAN.com and use the promo code LEMON. And as always, make sure you check with your doctor. February can be a lot. Everywhere you look, there are reminders of love, relationships, timelines, and it can feel like everyone else has it all figured out, but most of us don't. Whether you're single, dating, married, or just focusing on yourself, you're not behind, you're human. Therapy can help you sort through what you want, what feels heavy, and what you're ready to let go of. And that's where BetterHelp comes in. BetterHelp connects you with fully licensed therapists, matched to your needs through a simple questionnaire. And if the first match isn't right, you can switch at any time. With over 30,000 therapists and more than 5 million people served, BetterHelp makes support accessible and private. So if you have been feeling stuck or overwhelmed, this could be a step towards clarity. Get 10% off at betterhelp.com/DonLemon. That's betterhelp.com/DonLemon. Thanks to our sponsors. Absolutely, 100%. Thank you so much to our sponsors. And thank you guys again for tuning in and for being aware, even more aware than people who are our elected officials now, or politicians, current and former politicians. One of those is Michelle Bachmann, who was asked about an incident that happened with Greg Bovino at a gas station. And somehow she was a bit confused. I'll let you listen to it, and if you can figure it out. Here it is.
What's your reaction to that gas station manager turning out Greg Bovino because he worked for Immigration and Customs Enforcement?
Well, it's an act of discrimination for him to do that, and private businesses may have the right. But remember, again, he's a black man. And we think back to the 1950s during Jim Crow laws when blacks were refused service at public lunch counters. And so here we are. This is a public place where they're getting gasoline. That's a necessary item that people need to buy. And he's turning away the United States government.
Okay, this is how you know. Okay, everyone, these people are crazy. These are not serious people. Now, I mean, was she thinking of Dan Bongino? I mean, Dan Bongino is Italian. I don't know. I'm not sure of his ethnicity, but at least he's brown and kind of brown looking. I mean, producers look up, what is Dan Bongino? Is that what she was thinking about? Because Greg Bovino, as far as I know, is not a black man. Now, I came from Louisiana, and you know, there's a lot of people that are mixed up there. You don't know. And depending on, like right now, depending on the time of year, you don't know, I could be many different things. In the summer, I'm brown. In the winter, a little more light skin. But to think that Greg Bovino, Lord have mercy. That's how you know, again, these are not serious people at all. And the things that they find that they find offensive and the things that bother them, it's beyond belief. It's not the serious things. It's not who is, as Elizabeth Warren said, it's not who's out there shooting and killing American citizens in broad daylight. Well, I don't. That is like that. That's fully investigated. It's not whether there is if we possibly have a president who was involved in sex trafficking with Jeffrey Epstein and those connections. It's not that. It's little things like, as Elizabeth Warren said, charging reporters and saying that he has a right to be at a gas station as a black man when he's not black. Those things really bend them out of shape. It shows you where their priorities are. And their priorities are wherever Donald Trump's head is. And Donald Trump's head is up his ass. And so we are living in Donald Trump's psychosis. And they are operating as an administration from getting their cues from a leader who doesn't appear to be all there. And it has some issues. Some of them seem cognitive. And some of them is that he's just bent on revenge. This is his revenge tour. And he said as much. And they go along with it. It's unbelievable. Didn't Michelle Bachmann, that was the lady, I forget, she had some other weird thing. It wasn't like Marjorie Taylor Greene and the space lasers, but there was something else. And she was always a woman that everything was like the tip of the spear. Do you remember that? Everything was the tip of the spear. And so we're the tip of the spear. She says it like she said it in every single time, like the talking points. And the talking points are out there now, especially as it relates to Minnesota. The talking points are out there. And the spin is on. And I think the spin is on because they know the consequences of what happens when they lose. And so if they can't lose the right way, right, then they're going to try to win in the court of public opinion, no matter what authority says in the end. So there you go. Hey, listen, I know it's a little bit early, but I'm going to run because I got to go do this thing for charity. And it starts in a couple of minutes, and I want to be there because it's very important. Again, because I said it's for prostate cancer awareness. And I've had a number of people, friends and family members, who have succumbed to it, who died, and who have been affected by it. And it's very important. So I appreciate you joining us. And I'm going to see you. By the way, last night, you missed it if you weren't at City Winery. What a show. And there's another one there tonight. If you want to read about it and what happened, check it out. The New York Times has an article up about City Winery and what we did. Thank you guys for your support. I appreciate it. If you want to know anything about the Don Lemon Show, all you need to do is go to donlemon.com. That's donlemon.com. And at the top of that donlemon.com, here's what's really important. Take these steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and go vote for us for the NAACP Image Awards. We are nominated for 4, and it would be great to win at least 1, but we're honored to be nominated. I mean, for 4, I think that's unprecedented, especially for someone in independent journalism or independent media. It's really quite a feather in our cap, Lemonation. So I want you to be informed without being inundated until I see you back here tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern time here on the Don Lemon Show on the Don Lemon Channel. By the way, we're at City Winery again tonight. Maybe you can get on a waiting list. And then we're announcing our tour around the country soon, so wait for that. So be informed without being inundated until I see you back here at 10 a.m. Eastern time here on the Don Lemon Show on the Don Lemon Channel. I want you to do this. Turn the TV off. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a show. We're live every weekday at 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern time with new clips dropping at 2 p. and 8 p. And if you want even more Don Lemon Show content, join the Lemon community. Members get exclusive posts, behind-the-scenes videos, and live chats just for you. So hit the join button or visit our channel page to sign up. Thanks again for all your love and your support, and I'll see you next time.